Hello, what's up, divine being? It's your boy Marco Chak. Welcome to the third episode of Conscious Conversations. Really happy that you're spending your precious time with us here today. In this episode, I'll be going solo, just sharing my latest best insights. It's not going to be as dynamic because it's only me, but hopefully it will be still as juicy. So the concept for this episode is something that I've done before in my other podcast called the Chak Weekly Insight. It was a podcast I launched last year and it went for a couple episodes until I stopped for God, I forgot know what reason, but I'll bring the same concept here into this podcast where I'll just share some of the biggest insights that I've learned this week. And what I do usually is I have the habit of documenting down the insights that come to me in my iPhone notes or just a little notebook that I have. It's about, like a hand size. I just carry it around. And it's really good because it's better than my phone because I feel like I can be more creative with my pen or pencil. And yeah, it's not just no distractions when you're taking notes on a physical notebook. So I recommend you guys to try it out for yourself. It's a habit that has been helping me a lot. So yeah, I've consolidated some of the points that I've realized this month and I just want to share to you guys. I have 4 points and we can dive deep in each, so I'm ready to go. And the first point that I want to share is around friendships. And this is a topic that I haven't talked a lot about on my YouTube channel anywhere else because it's not my most thriving area of my life, okay? It's not something I'm best in. But I've got some new insights and new perspective from a mastermind call that I had with Diego. You might know Diego from our first conversation from our first episode. And Diego and I have this arrangement where we would mastermind call each other once every 2 to 3 weeks where we'll talk about various subjects that would add value to each other. And we also have this new arrangement where we'll pick a book, like a little book club thing, and we would kind of share our perspective on the book that we read. And in this book, it was called The 25 Laws of Doing the Impossible by Patrick Bet-David. And there was one law about letting the right ones in. So it's basically talking about picking the right person in your lives. And I've been very conscious of who I want to hang out with and who I want to spend my time with because, I really subscribe to the law and the idea of, you're the average of the 5 people you can hang out with the most. And therefore, I really want to protect my energy and also my time so that I'm not wasting on people that do not add value to me. However, sometimes I feel like I take this law a little bit too far and not see any of my friends because in my mind, it's like if you don't think the way that I do, if you're not going for these big dreams and these big goals in my life, then I don't want to hang out with you. And basically, I think that's one of the reasons why I haven't seen my friends for like 4 or 5 weeks and I feel good about it at the same time. So it's kind of like a weird little thing where I'm not really sure how to approach friendship in a healthy, balanced way. And so, I was very lucky to have this nice call with Diego and just dissect a little bit into the mindset and just share each other's perspective. And the funny thing was, we talked a lot and we kind of unpeeled the layers of my reasons that I approach friendships this way and like pushing people back sometimes. And I recalled one of my memories in middle school where I was actually a little bit traumatized by an experience where I was really invested in, some friendships and it didn't turn out the way that I wanted to be, okay? So I felt a little betrayed by some of my friends and I think that made me close my heart off and not put a lot of trust in my friends. And I think that's something that I didn't even realize. And now I was like, oh my goodness, Diego, I'm like super glad that we had this conversation because now I know that the reason why sometimes I'm reluctant into putting myself to give in a relationship and to be open-hearted and trust in other people with friends is because maybe I was hurt, and that's definitely the reason why. And it's strange because with relationship and with romance, I am more mature and secure in investing in a person, but in friendship is not the way it was. And I think I put more inner work with romance but less in friendship, so maybe that's the reason why. But basically what I've learned is love with no expectation. And I think this is a very obvious lesson, but also very hard to implement because, sometimes when you give, maybe other party don't reciprocate, but at the same time, like if that's the case, then you have the choice to whether keep continuing this relationship, and it will also help you know which are the real ones, because the real ones would always reciprocate. And so what I learned is kind of like the same lesson I've learned in relationships with in love and also in families. Just do your best. Like, be the best friend, be the best brother, be the best son that you can be the best boyfriend, girlfriend you can be. And if you do your best, you can just let go of the outcome and not really care try your best not to care what the outcome is, because if you control your input, it also takes work from the other person to make the relationship work. It's not just one-sided, right? So obviously, this was a nice little message for me, and a nice little reminder. It's just like, yo, Marco, like, just love, just be you, just be the loving person that you want to develop into, and the real ones reciprocate. And it's funny because I'm not sure if you guys feel this way, but I always feel like with different friends, it brings a different part of me. For example, with old friends versus new friends. And I feel like I can be more myself in front of my new friends because maybe sometimes they see the more evolved part of me, versus my old friends might have a conception of who I was before. And like with my old homies, right, like real talk, like sometimes maybe I don't feel as supported, or the friendship is not as loving as what I am used to with my new friends, right? Well, what I've tried to like build my new identity around. But I've tried to like merge those two worlds together and introduce a little bit more of that lovingness into my old ones. And it's definitely hard, and that's why like sometimes I just can't expect people to change 180. I also have to allow other people just to do them as well, right? But then now I understand, you know what, like if I'm just happy hanging out with them, I don't need to be that like mature personal growth like identity all the time. I can just also be like a little goofy Marco, just chilling with other my homies, but definitely just like be you and no expectation, right? So I think that's just a little reminder for myself moving forward with my relationship. And I'm super grateful that I could have this conversation with Diego. And at the same time, I asked Diego what was his approach. What is his approach to friendship? And he told me a lot of the stuff that I can implement like right away, and it actually has shifted my perspective. Like, oh my goodness, yeah, I can have actually in my network, I have more people that I can reach out to than I realized, basically, because he told me, like, yeah, he feels the same way with some people that he doesn't click with, maybe don't have the same values as they used to share. But now, like he always have regular calls with people that are striving for more, that are still curious about life. And if he feels that connection, he'll reach out and to catch up once in a while. And I after that reflection, I actually have a lot of people that I know before, or we're acquaintances, but we haven't caught up in a while and normally won't talk. But maybe I should just shoot a little message to them and say, hey, how you're doing, and just keep up those connections, because you never know where it will go. And it makes sense because recently in a podcast, from impact theory. There was this theory about, people in their 20s are starting to make it, and then people in their 30s have a little bit of success, and in their 40s they really make it in the position of influence and success. So you never know who are the ones that's gonna make it. So you're gonna keep trying, like, have that relationship always going and always planting that seed and always, keeping that relationship going. Obviously it's not because of those incentives, but because you like each other as well. But it's a little reminder, and now I came up with a list of people that I could always hit up, and also people that want to form stronger connections with. So if you're listening to this and you get a little message from me once in a while, you're in that list, and hit me up too. If you haven't spoke to me in a while and you feel like, what, Marco feels like someone that I resonate with, and we can build something off, and we can just share some really nice, cool energy together. I'm always looking to grow. So that's what I learned about friendship, like my personal trauma and my trust issues, and makes me like, that was just big, because going into a topic a little bit, going to the topic of trauma, I think this is also a huge one, moving off from friendship, is, like, everyone actually has traumas that we have to deal with, like, real talk. Everyone is hurt in some ways. Maybe you don't consciously remember it, but I was just reading the stat, I forgot what, but like a surprisingly amount of people actually has like childhood trauma, where that it be like divorce, or like a sexual abuse, or those are the most commons. But it could always just be like maybe a bully saying something, or something happened like me, right? Like a friendship didn't work out as well as it could. So, and that experience in our adolescence year would shape our beliefs system. So it's very important to heal ourselves and actually to investigate what's going on in our subconscious mind. It's very important to go back into those stories and actually unwind them, actually like rewrite them as well, because those traumas will be the driving force in our consciousness, in our psyche, and it's subconscious. And so it's very important to make sure the stories that is running your life, and the software that is running your life, is something that you want it to be there, and it's actually a truth, not just something that is a belief. And I was watching another podcast, this interview from London Real, interviewing Gabor Mate, and he's this guy that works in downtown East Side that help people with severe addiction, kind of help them a little bit. And he was involved in this work for a lot of years. And he was just basically saying that people that are addicted are severely traumatized in childhood. They all have that common thread, and they just don't know how to deal with that traumatization, and they look towards drugs as a way to heal their pain, because they don't know how to deal with that pain. They choose to avoid it, and the solution that they see is to use drugs to suppress that pain. And so, drugs is only one kind of addiction. We could be working alcoholics. Maybe we were traumatized when we were a child. We don't have enough love, and we don't get the validation from our parents, and so we want to get the validation from the world, and that's why we work so hard, and we don't even know like why. I think the message here is just to go inside you and understand what is driving you, and whether that's healthy. And if there's a trauma that you need to heal, like, go heal it, because wow, it's like very powerful as well. Something that has been so bad for you becomes a strength for you, and becomes a blessing for you. And I can speak a little bit more about my own traumas before as well. Like, my parents didn't have really good marriage when I was in middle school, and that definitely had a huge impact on me. But it's something that I've worked on, and like now I'm released for it. Now I'm more free from the past. Definitely, like, I improved the relationship I have with my parents like a lot, and that makes me free from the past, and that makes me have more capacity to live more in the moment, in the now, and not be haunted by the past, and also to have more creativity, to have more creative energy to create the future. So, like, I didn't know about this friendship trauma, or I wasn't aware of it for a long time. So, it's also very important to just dig around, like in different parts of your life, like, the wheel of life, right? The money, the family, friends, romance, health, and just all around. Just make sure you have a clean slate, a clean past, so you got that momentum you can create forward. Okay. And yeah, I just want to move on from this as well, because I got some juicy things I want to keep sharing. I don't want to make this too long as well. It organically move on into talking about a little bit more about my mom, actually. Okay, this is a beautiful thing that recently happened, and the reason why this happened is because I learned how to live more in my heart space. And I'll connect back to the little story maybe I want to share about what happened between me and my mom that was recently beautiful, and and I would say kind of rare too. Okay, so what I've been realizing for a while now already, okay, is that we sometimes live a lot in our head space but not enough in our heart space. And I think this is a epiphany that I realized when I read this book called The Seed of the Soul. I mean, the book was okay, but one line it talked about was the door to the soul is through opening the heart, something like that. So I'm like, okay, wow, I want to become a more spiritual person. This was last year when I was in UBC, and I was just going through a time where I had a little bit more mental capacity to dive into the spiritual aspect of me, moving past from the personal development aspect, or building on to the personal development aspect. And so I'm like, yeah, like I've always like think, and I always try to like ideate and stuff, but I never really go into the hard part of me. And so I've been learning to follow my heart and stuff like that, and that's the reason why I was like brave enough, I guess, to take a gap year and follow what my heart desired to create Divicati instead of finishing the final year of my university. And a little tangent is actually funny is that, things actually worked out at the end, because there was an opportunity, actually I didn't know, but prior to applying for this gap year, for students to actually get a 3-year degree in Scotland, which is normally 4 years. So I actually applied to the 3-year degree and they approved it. So now I'm officially graduating this summer as well. So the only thing that is different, I just don't have the honor titled. So I'm like, oh, sweet, like me following the heart actually paid off at the end. I got to start Divicati, and now I'm also graduating. And so, like following the heart space is something that has led me to live in a different way, because normally I didn't really understood what people say, follow your heart, like that's, if you don't know what to do, follow your heart. But the reason why I couldn't take that advice, because I was not connected to my heart in the first place. I didn't know how to allocate my attention into that space. And so once I trained myself, and I'm still training myself to connect back to my heart every single day when I wake up, now I just like breathe into my heart, and I feel the feelings that it's trying to give me. I feel my emotions that it's trying to give me. Sometimes it's weird, my body just aches for no reason. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's a reason, I just not aware of it to understand why. And this, it's not really an ache. I don't even know how to describe it. My heart, it feels like an ache, something that's suppressing sometimes, something that I want to let go, maybe a unreleased energy. And also in my solar plexus, so that's just below my rib cage, that little diaphragm area, and it just has this like butterflyish feeling, and I don't know what's up. Sometimes when I wake up, there's just a lot of energy there, and it caused me to want to like play on my phone, or like just get distracted mentally, so that I don't have to feel that feeling within my body. And I don't know like why this is happening, but obviously I'm just trying to like investigate more. But basically I try to like breathe into that to release it, and also try to tap into my heart to feel it, and just see any feedback that it's trying to give me. So I've just been trying to living in this paradigm to always follow my head, right? Just to like, okay, this is rational, this makes sense, it's strategic, it's a good idea, pros and cons, very like rational way of thinking. But also I use my heart and feel like, okay, what feels good to my soul? What is resonating? And I try to have that two balance in between so that I can move towards the vision that I want to go into, and I feel like, okay, this is what is good for me. And sometimes the thing is like when I can't think of anything, when I'm like stuck, it's really useful because now I don't rely solely on my brain for decisions. I also can tap into my gut and also my heart for inspiration, also decision making process. Actually, the heart is very powerful, and that's why you want to utilize that part of you as well. And so how this ties into the whole heart thing is because sometimes when I'm in my heart space, an intuition comes into me, like a very subtle like idea just pops up into my mind, and it feels good. And it's not something that I need to consciously put effort in thinking about. And now I classify that as intuition as of right now. And basically I was just thinking about my mom because like she is going through something in her life basically, and I feel like we need to have that heart to heart conversation. And I feel like we didn't have that heart to heart conversation in a very, very long time. So basically, then I decided to, like, after she came back from work and actually had that conversation. And it was really good because I was listening to her. I was basically paying attention to what her point of view was, and basically what I also conveyed through my heart what I wanted her to know. And this was a little bit more about her personal life, like her purpose and things like that. And basically I realized not everyone like thinks about like these big questions like what's your purpose and like what do you want to do. And I just felt like my mom was going through this like cycle where she's just working and then not really thinking about her life. But we came to the understanding that everyone lives differently, and I think she also got me that I just want the best for her to be prepared in thinking about like life after retirement, or just put a little bit more thought into what she wants out of her life. Maybe this also goes into like a little bit of spirituality, because I feel like everyone comes into this world with a mission that they have to accomplish, or else they will come back into this life again. And so I feel like she's not really stepping into her path per se. And so I just want to give her that reminder. And it's something that, again, felt good in my heart to do that. And so like I just create that moment where I just had that conversation with her. Obviously it's a little bit uncomfortable and maybe a little bit confrontational, but it definitely helped us put our relationship back into a place where we were both on the same page. And linking back to this a little bit in the friendship part, one insight is also like honest communication. That shit is super important if you want to have like a good relationship with your buddies, because I feel like a lot of people never really speak their heart, never really like show vulnerability. And that makes sense because they were trying to protect yourself. But at the same time, what moves a friendship forward in my experience is those honest, tough conversations that really allow you both to just spill your feelings so that you both know where you guys are at. And when you do that, boom, like it moves you forward in a relationship because you both can invest in a relationship more confidently. But going back into the heart space, yeah, so I think that's just what I came to realize. And it's beautiful that I actually can share what I know to my mom nowadays, because before, like the dynamic was always, the mom telling you what to do, the parents always telling you what to do and teaching what you do. But now I feel like I'm becoming more mature and being a man now, that I have some of the perspective and information and wisdom that my mom does not think about. And that's why it's like a mutual relationship, mutual respect, where we can just remind each other of the things that are important in our lives and just like teach each other. And I think that's beautiful. And like especially in Asian culture, I don't maybe in other cultures a little bit different, but we never appreciate our feelings verbally. Like, you never say like, "Oh, mom, I love you," in like Cantonese or anything like that. It's very like awkward to express love and appreciation, things like that. And so like sometimes, although that's the culture not to do it, I, at least in my family, I'm trying to like just be me, right? Just trying to introduce more of that appreciation, and just telling my mom how I appreciate the things that she does for me, and also to remember to be more compassionate. I think that's also a very, very big insight that I've learned this month, because running Divicati, I'm working very hard, like every single day, to manifest the reality and to make it the most successful company that I can. But in that process, in that journey, what I realized that I always put all the attention on me, my problems, my goals, and I forgot to appreciate the things around me and the people around me. And like my dog, sometimes I don't even like spend time with my dog enough to like walk him around. Obviously my mom, my sister, even my helper that like takes care of a lot of the aspects of my life, like help me cook, wash my clothes. When I left for university, I learned to appreciate that, because like you don't know the pleasure that you have or the privilege that you have while you're in it. I told myself then, I gotta be appreciative of these little things in life. And now, as I'm back into that grind mode, and sometimes I just lose track of having this more macro perspective into being compassionate and caring for others. So, wow, like I think that's one of the reasons why I also had that moment with my mom, to create that moment, to share that insights and to have that conversation. I also did that with my helper, actually, just sat down with her and understand, what she's going through. And she says she's a little bit worried about her family's issue and also about the coronavirus. So I did a little coaching with her. It was one of the toughest coaching sessions, just because of like maybe the communication and also the patience, like just listening. Like, you're learning how to just listen, especially like if you don't have best vocabulary to communicate with her, especially if you don't have the best vocabulary to communicate with someone. But just listening and just being there, and just to like understand other people's perspective without having a need to like rebuttal back, or just urging that advice monster. Sometimes it's like been a huge benefit for me, just to listen with your whole mind, body, and soul, what people are not saying, what people are saying, how they're expressing their facial expression. Yeah, just being more compassionate is also a very important lesson that I've learned recently, that I want to keep coming back to. Suffering with, empowering others. That's the definition of compassion in the book of Joy that I'm reading by Dalai Lama and something bishop. I forgot which bishop, but it's a joint book. So it has a little Buddhism view plus a little Christianity view. It's a good little read. Talks about happiness and stuff like that. And one of the most important things, like, one of the easiest way to like suffer is only focusing on yourself. So you got to be more compassionate, focus on other people as well. If you help other people, you will get that helper's high. It actually benefits people around you, and also has a ripple effect where if you're compassionate with people, it can actually influence in the 2 or 3 degrees of separations, like their friends and their friends of friends. And this was like research that was done by a sociologist that they reference in the book. So like, yeah, dude, like, hell yeah, like spread that positivity, spread that love, be more compassionate. Just don't think about us all the time, because that's the way to suffering, just being too egotistical. All right, so I think that's also one big lesson. As I said, I don't know, I didn't expect to say so much. Obviously I have notes, but it's beautiful. Sometimes my brain just makes like connections, and things just come up organically. So that's beautiful. I got 2 more insights I really want to share before I end this episode. And the first one is surrendering. Okay, so this insight came to me by actually watching this movie called The Celestine Prophecy. It's a little spiritual movie. It was like a book first about like 12 spiritual laws that would, help humanity and things like that, right? I think it's a good little read, and to if you want to learn more about spirituality, like read the 12 laws. I think it's really interesting. I think the first laws, it was about synchronicity, and it talks about the universe is always trying to like give you signs and things like that, but you have to pay attention to those synchronicities, those patterns, and what the coincidence that happen, and those are the little signs that you need to pay attention to, and it will like help you guide into the right direction. And so basically I was like watching this YouTube video, and I was like, it talked about surrender, and I came across this word surrender, and I don't know, like some articles or something, I forgot what it was, but basically it was my synchronicity. It was my sign to like, hey, Marco, like go into this, like look into this more. So I did. I think this is very good as well, because it's exactly what I need. It's exactly that medicine, that perspective that I needed to learn as of right now. And as I've mentioned, I've been working very hard on Divicati, and like financially, I'm not really seeing the reward or the results sometimes. Like I create the Facebook posts and the YouTube videos and podcasts and all sorts of stuff, like coaching people and things like that, right? But I'm not really like getting the results or the achievements that I want. Or like, I make a video, it's not like, oh, boom, it blows up or anything like that, right? Basically, the investment of my effort and my time is not really being showed as of right now. And so I lived in that mindset for a while, and has caused a lot of unhappiness and all a little bit frustrated in my life, because I was very fixated on like the result and the outcome. And I reminded myself to like, yo, Marco, like don't amplify your pain, because part of it is the external circumstances is not happening, but what is even worse than the external circumstances is my internal amplification of how bad the external circumstances are. So it's actually not that bad if I just can't accept it. If I accept it and do something about it. It's a epiphany that I learned through my meditation, but I have just not been applying. So like, I already have that wisdom within me. So it was just a little quick little reminder for myself to, if things are not going well in the outside, instead of beating yourself up, like learn to freaking accept it and move forward, and just let go of like the outcome. Like let go of always trying to control everything. Like let go of like wanting to be there and having that like expectation. It needed to be this way, I need to show up in this time, I need to show up in this way. Like, it's very like forceful. And it's something that I've learning to just like let God take the wheel. Like have that 50-50 partnership, right? Like I do my best. I focus on having a successful day. I focus on doing the best thing that I can do today, and doing all the things that I can do today, and just letting go. And I think this is also a very juicy concept that has helped me a lot to stop worrying about the future. It was by the book How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. Is one of the juiciest concepts. How to stop worrying. Just focus on having a freaking successful day. But the thing that got me was like, even though I felt like I was having consecutive successful day for a very, very long time, for like months now, I'm still not getting the results that I want. And in a real world reality, right, like I need to make money to live. I need to like pay my bills. I don't need to like really pay my bills as of right now. I have some saving that's supporting me. But you know what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to like move forward my life. I'm trying to like go do things, right? But if I don't have these things, then it won't show up. But that's like my expectation in my ego side. So what I've learned is like, like just do everything that you need to do and you can do that could help you take you forward, and also put your focus on enjoying the process in the freaking moment. Like, enjoy creating, enjoy making the videos, enjoy coaching. Like, yeah, like if I have that focus on like, oh, when is that like 15 clients gonna come? When is that money gonna come in? Then I'm always like thinking and worrying and like being anxious. Rather, I'm like, yo, I already have like 20 more video concepts. I already have like TikToks I want to make. I already have like guests I want to like interview, and like there are books I need to read. And so like, hey, why not just put that focus in more that creative producing state, so that, you know, eventually that will come. And so I think it's just that persistent, just being patient, just being sticking with the journey, trusting that journey, and enjoying the process is very, very important. And so like, that's just a little reminder, just not having that like forceful thing is always like me now, that kind of energy. And so just like things flow, like letting like universe take the wheel a little bit. I think that's very comforting. And at the same time, you know, I'll focus on living this way next month, from March, and I'll see like how that makes a difference. I think it will. And yeah, that's just what I've learned. Just surrender a little bit, homie. Like, that's important, Marco. And it's also very beautiful because a little bit about enjoying the journey. Like, I'm trying to do that for a long time. Obviously, it's a concept that a lot of people talk about, but I think like this Friday was one of the first time I really felt it. I really felt that I was like doing something that I'm enjoying, and I really have that like fulfillment without having that result yet. And I think I want to share it to you. So it's basically, so what happened was basically like on Friday, you know, like I was still working, you know, I have a couple of things to do, and I looked up at my clock, and it was like 11:30 p.m. and it was a Friday. I was like, oh my God, today's a Friday? I didn't even realize. And I was just doing something. I was just like planning for like the days ahead, right? And usually like before, I have that feeling like, oh fuck, it's Friday, I'm still working, I'm like not enjoying with my friends, I'm not having beer, I'm not partying. But now I'm like, yo, you know what? I'm actually freaking excited. I'm like thinking about guests I want to interview for this podcast. And I'm like, yo, Marco, like, as of right now, I'll say like I create the environment for me to be successful already. I feel like, yeah, this is something that resonates in my heart. So just enjoying that moment is like huge. Like, I literally like I went on IG, and I like had that moment where I was just like in the solitude, and I was also just very grateful for me putting this work to put myself into this position where I could enjoy the moment and do what I want to do. And this all comes back to like just following the heart and do what feels good, that will lead you to that vision that you want to live in. And so yeah, like, man, enjoying that process, bro, real important. This moves beautifully into my last insight, because as I was just enjoying the process and just being grateful that I'm here today, I also took some time to think about like what I had gone through in order to put myself in this position. And so I was just recollecting, reflecting, reminiscing, and it was so beautiful because it's something that I haven't done in a while. I've been really focused on the future, what I want to create, and that's beautiful. And sometimes, you know, I'm very in the present. I'm like, oh, like locked and loaded. I remember, hey, Marco, I'm present. I use my breath here to remind me, right? But lately, I haven't been really recollecting the past, really haven't like thought about what I've done. And this was a reminder because I was at a local mastermind hangout with my homie, and he was asking me, hey, what have you been doing? Because we haven't seen each other for like 4 months. And legit, like, I couldn't actually tell him what I did. Like, I forgot. Like, I couldn't tell you, maybe like one or two things. I'm like, damn, like, I haven't really been reflecting. And so like this actually reminded me to do more of my journaling and also conscious reflecting. Okay, on this month, what are my achievements? And so that's what I've been implementing. And I think that's really important because sometimes when I'm like sitting down my toilet bowl or something like that and having that conscious thinking moment, like a couple of times I reflected back into my beautiful high school times, like beautiful high school memories, beautiful times when I was a little kid, funny little moments, my best weekends, and like that just makes me feel so happy, and that makes me feel like, wow, like I've gone a long way, like I've transitioned into this person now, and this is how I used to think, and this is how I used to be, and that just gives me confidence, saying, hey, you know what, like I just need to keep going, then I could be at the position that I want to be. And at the same time, I thought back in my past and say, hey, would past Marco actually believe that future Marco would be at this spot? And I was like, yeah, holy moly, like no, like I still remember back when I was in like grade 10, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I just thought I would go to a little university like Ryerson or something, in Canada, and I'll be happy. But it's been a crazy ride where I was able to go to 3 different universities in 3 years, and now I'm like starting my own little company. I'm like, whoa, like I never expected that, and I never thought I could become that as well. So I'm really living the dream that I wished for as a kid. So I just need to again like appreciate that, recognize that, and also going back into more of that state of like, oh, just taking time to appreciate how far you have came, and just remember those happy times, because you know what, when you do that, you boost like your dopamine levels, like, so it's like a little happy hack, it's like a little gratitude of what has happened in the past. So that's my little thing. And when you reflect, you always can extract insights, you always get so much out of reflecting. So yeah, if you want to grow, one of the most important element is reflecting. I always like go by this way of thinking, like you think, you do, and you reflect, and you improve. So it's that loop. I've always been like, I guess lately I've just been like thinking and doing, but I lack the reflecting. So this is just a little reminder that has been really good for me. So I'll end it on that insight. So I hope this podcast has been helpful to you, because I never know, because I'm just sharing my journey and what I'm learning and what I'm realizing, right? So maybe you've already gone through these transformation, but it'll be a good little reminder, or maybe you haven't really thought about these aspects before, and it could be some brain food, something like that. So I really appreciate you for staying till the end. You can always check out my work at divicati.com if you're looking for more personalized coaching, to accelerate your personal growth, just to help you get a good sense of what's going on in your life, how can you improve, what some of the mindsets are blocking you, what are the systems and habits that you can develop. So I'll be there, if you need me. You can always hit me up and we can go into a free discovery life coaching session. I got some guests lined up for future episodes, so I'm really excited for that. And yes, thank you for listening. I wish you a very beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you in episode 4. Much love and peace. Namaste.